Hello everyone, this is Kaydub 0415 and we are going to do some basic Buddhism today with me. So the agenda for today's talk is why meditate. So what's the practice of meditation and why is it important? There are two major kinds of meditation, so we'll look at serenity meditation and insight meditation. And then the next topic we're going to discuss in the next recording is going to be the law of karma, which is extremely complex. um, what goes around comes around is an oversimplification, and I will explain that as best I can in the next recording. But let's start out with why meditate. So there are multiple reasons why people take up meditation now. So here in 2022, meditation is considered something that has become, it's been a practice that has influenced many areas, psychology, and sometimes just people personally say, I want to meditate for X reason. So there are multiple reasons why people will meditate. Some people meditate for relaxation. I can't sleep at night, so I meditate, and that allows me to get back to sleep. Or it allows me to feel tired and groggy so that I sleep better. Some people meditate because they have anxiety, so meditation helps them reduce their anxiety so that they can function somewhat better. For some, there's high blood pressure, and some studies suggest that meditation helps with high blood pressure. Same thing with other health concerns. So, keeping the stress levels down through meditation reduces the risk of certain diseases getting worse. So, for example, I have Crohn's disease. So, if I keep my stress levels down, usually that results in fewer occurrences of flare ups or any sort of event that will occur. So, there are a multitude of reasons why people will meditate now in 2022. However, when it comes to a Buddhist practice, there are two major forms of meditation practice, and that those are serenity and insight. Sometimes serenity is called calm. Sometimes insight is insight. Insight. That's one of the only interpretations that I've ever read about. But basically, gaining wisdom. So serenity is about being calm, and insight is about gaining wisdom. And you combine the two, and you have a meditation practice that allows us to see things more clearly and to be calm about that. So, serenity meditation is probably the more common meditation that is promoted. So, if you go to a counselor or a psychologist and they are talking about meditation, they're probably talking about mindfulness and being calm and being relaxed. So, they're talking more like in the serenity meditation area. And so, serenity meditation most commonly takes a meditation object for the mind to focus on. For example, if you are focusing on being calm, you might have a picture in your head of a place that you've been to where you felt calm, and you will keep that as your meditation object. Or a very common one is focusing on the breath, the in and out breath. So whether it's in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the nose, in through the nose, and you're focused on your chest area or your abdomen. That is a very common way because the breath is always sort of with us. As long as we're alive, we're breathing basically. And if we're not, that's going to be an issue. Um, so it really depends upon the person. Some people like I focus on the nose, so I go in breath through the nose and then out breath through the mouth sometimes, and I'm focused on how that air is traveling. Other times I'm just in through the nose, out through the nose. Other times that's not working, so I focus on the abdomen. In breath, abdomen, so the abdomen will expand, and then out breath, it sort of contracts a little bit. And it really depends on the person. So there's no like universal way to say, oh, well, if you focus on the in and out breath through the nose, it's going to work perfectly for you. And that's not the situation. It really depends upon the person. Sometimes, if I focus on the in breath and out breath through the nose, I get what is called a Zen headache, so to speak, um, or Zen sickness sometimes. I don't know if that's like a myth or anything, but I've read about it. And what will happen is I'll get like a meditation headache because my mind's eye is high. It's up here instead of here. Um, Same thing. Some people will say, I got a stomach ache while I was meditating. And the philosophy is their focus was too far down. So, uh, serenity meditation is sort of the most common form of meditation. We have a meditation object, we focus on that object. And if our mind wanders, and so we're instead of thinking about the meditation object, we're thinking about something else. The goal is to say, okay, why is the focus on this instead of the meditation object, and then gently sort of refocusing the mind on the meditation object. And no matter how many times you got to do that during meditation, you try your best to do that. And for some people, it's like it's they think it's impossible. For others, it seems relatively simple. And it depends upon the meditation session too. Some meditation sessions for me, it's very easy to sort of focus on the breath, which is what I primarily focus on for serenity meditation. And other times it just does not work out as planned, and the mind is bouncing around all over the place. And the whole goal, from a Buddhist standpoint for meditation, is to create a one-pointed mind. So we have a one-pointed focus and concentration. So basically, it's increasing concentration and awareness. And then there's that second sort of branch of meditation called insight meditation. And this is sort of looking critically at phenomena. So it's very uh, contemplative, reflective, intellectual, would be like three adjectives that I would use. And so one example is pain. So sometimes when I do have a headache, I will practice some insight meditation. So first thing I'll do is I'll do a little bit of serenity meditation, sort of get the mind focused on one particular thing. So maybe I have a headache and focusing on that headache. And then while I'm doing the breathing, I'm analyzing. So you could call it an analysis meditation. I'm analyzing that pain. Is it constant, like it feels like, or is it momentary? And more times than not, the pain is momentary. You really focus on the pain. And you think, well, one instant, it's very, very difficult to, it's very difficult not to feel pain. But in another instant, it sort of soothes a little bit before the next little burst. And so, really looking at that. And another thing that, and it's this is helpful for me. I'm a very lustful person, so if I see someone that's really attractive, sometimes that invades my mind. So what I'll do is I'll do a little serenity meditation on that object, but I'll also analyze that object and say, well, is it really as pretty as my perception says that it is? And the sort of conclusion from a Buddhist perspective is we're not seeing that object, that person, or whatever as it really is. It's an impermanent object that's always changing. But because of our flow of consciousness and our perceptions, we don't see that particular aspect. We don't see the impermanence. We don't see it changing. We just see the attractiveness of the object. And so, to counter the sort of lust, it's seeing that object as it really is. It's an impermanent, changing thing. Or if you want to go to the extreme, you can look at the repulsiveness of the object. So if I have a very strong weakness for redheads. So this is a good example. So I see a redhead, and it's like the flames of passion just sort of go poof, and my mind it gets really lustful. But that's because my mind sees the attractiveness of that particular person that's a redhead. So what I have to do, to sort of counteract that, is I need to see that object as it is, which is an impermanent, changing sort of object. And that even though there are attractive qualities, there are also repulsive qualities. Um, that being does have some things that are not that we don't really perceive as awesome. That person, if we cut them, they will bleed. Some people don't like blood. Ew. So they have blood, they have bile and phlegm and pus inside their bodies and all that. And one of the obvious ones is they have to use the bathroom every now and again. We don't think of we don't think of urine and feces as, really attractive. We think of it as, ugh, that's waste. So sort of counteracting those attractive sort of uh, perceptions with the opposite side of the coin, because there are two sides to the coin on that, right? And so going to the other side of the coin and saying, well, bile, phlegm, pus, and blood, they're full of that. And when it comes to the body, so for serenity meditation, sometimes I'll look at the body, and then I'll also use that sort of analytical part of the mind and say, well, along with those things that are very attractive, let's look underneath the surface, because um, we can only perceive skin deep with our eyes, right? So deeper than the skin, we have how many parts of the body are there? I think it's 32 parts of the body, and that's one of the contemplations we can have in meditation. Is we have body hair, skin hair, bile, um, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, synovial fluid, I think it's called, the fluid of the joints. We have stomach, feces. We have the liver, kidneys, and if we like ripped it out of us, we'd probably be repulsed, right? Because it'd be like, oh, yuck, what's this thing? It's a kidney. And so it's looking at the body and saying, well, it's actually just a sack of crap all put together, but we find it attractive. That's our perception, but at the same time, there's this opposite end where it's not as attractive as we might think that it is. And so we have both of those kinds of meditation, and sometimes we can use both to see things more critically. And I think, if I had to put it in a nutshell, that is sort of the goal of Buddhist meditation as a Buddhist practitioner. It is not only being calming the mind to be have one point of concentration, but also to see phenomena as they really are, as transitory, as not only attractive but also the repulsive sort of things that are on the other side, and then seeing those things with equanimity, not being necessarily attracted all to those attractiveness, but not being repulsed by the repulsive, having that calm, sort of impartial equanimity toward those things. And that ultimately comes to, then we don't have a desire, or at least we have less desire. So less desire for the attractive, less repulsion toward the repulsive. We just sort of comprehend things as they are. And I think that's a really big step toward that goal of awakening, is seeing things as they are. And I think that's a huge part of right view, or perfected view, if you want, when it comes to the Noble Eightfold Path, seeing those things as they truly are and not as we necessarily perceive them. Because even the repulsive can have attractive qualities if we look at them and examine them carefully. All right, so that's the basics when it comes to meditation. If you want to learn a little bit more about how one goes about meditating, uh, link I can put a link in the description of a video that I made a while back, so it's going to be a little bit dated, but the basic principles are there, and hopefully that will be helpful if you do want to start a meditation practice. And I think another thing to tell you is that you don't need to be meditating all day, every spare moment that you have. That's, even some monks, they will moderate how much they meditate. And part of it is just being careful, because you can become addicted to meditating, because the effects of meditation can be similar to a drug. So it's just being very careful about how much we're meditating. And so, for example, I will meditate maybe 3 times a week nowadays. Uh, and it's mostly so that the effects of the meditation last a little bit longer. Um, because everything in moderation, the effects are a little bit more present. If I were meditating all the time, I would probably wouldn't be getting the effects because of the tolerance thing. So that's something to be careful about too. And also, you don't need to be meditating for extremely long periods of time. You don't need to be meditating sitting like a pretzel. There are a lot of things to sort of keep in mind, but I touch on some of those things in the meditation video I'm going to put in the description. So like I said, the next topic is going to be the law of karma. What goes around comes around. Is that an accurate sort of shortcut, or is it a little bit missing the point? So we'll talk about that in the next video. So until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.